Greetings, fellow Americans. Susanna for President 2028. Welcome to the 2024 edition of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Fireside Chats. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whichever holiday you happen to be celebrating. May it be safe and joyous. Tonight I am going to be reading How the Grinch Stole Christmas. This is an old story by Dr. Seuss. It's one of my favorites. I was very excited when I learned that they made this book into a movie, and it starred Jim Carrey, and I love him as an actor. I am very excited to read it to you tonight. So with that, we are going to get started. I don't have the book right in front of me, so I don't have a way to show you pictures or anything like that. But I am going to read it. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm-lighted windows below in their town, where he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. This is my tablet, by the way. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled, with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then, oh the noise, 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 noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise, 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 noise. Then the Who, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding, they would feast on Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together, with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said. If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn to the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" and the sleigh started down toward the houses and homes where the Whos lay a snooze in their town. All the windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stock number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed. And he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Whose stockings all hung in a row. The stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk, with a smile most unpleasant, around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates and drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch, very nimbly, stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimbley. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. And then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. And then the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. So she stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know the Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink and sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing that he took was the log for the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who mouses. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Hoo-hoo to the Who's, he was grinchishly humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then all the Who's in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be, but it was merry. Very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours, till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Like I said, this is one of my favorite stories, and I wanted to share it with the kids. I think it's a really great story. And it's a good way to show kids that there doesn't have to be a lot of physical material stuff for people to celebrate Christmas. There is one more thing that I would like to mention tonight. Very recently, a friend of mine who lives in Wyoming received a Lifesaver Award. He assisted a citizen when that citizen was in danger and trying to take their own life. There were a lot of comments on the post that he sent me. They were really good comments, such as, "More people need to be like you." I agree. More people need to be willing to step in when others are making decisions that could really harm themselves or others. This is really a type of community watch. It's community unity. You can't have unity, or you can't have community without unity. It's right in there. I think that it's a wonderful thing, and so I think that I think it'd be great if everybody thanked my friend. His name is Shane Blackman. So thank you, Shane, for being a good citizen. And Merry Christmas to everybody. I think that stories like that need to happen a lot more. It's good to have stories to share, to teach others to be good, to make good decisions, to help others. It helps us to walk the path of peace and prosperity. That is all I have for tonight. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and please be safe. Thank you for your time, and may our path lead to peace and prosperity.